You are watching
And in the
Xirtus.
long run, obviously, this is going to benefit China in some way, which is fine. If they produce quality for the world, then they should benefit from it, right?
Well, okay, let's go on that. Like hypothetically, how do you think giving away for free code to the whole world so that they can do it themselves anywhere is going to benefit China? What do you think's the angle?
The
Anyone
same
have a
way,
thought?
the same way, you make anything that's good and you want people to use it, you give it to them free, and you earn their trust, and people
Yeah,
see
I
you
think I
as
think
the.
you're being a bit too altruistic there.
I'm just fucking spitballing. There's no reason for China to do this out of the kindness of their heart. There's going to be some way that they benefit, and it might be a legitimate way of just being the leader in AI that everybody trusts and goes to because they know they're not going to get fucked over.
I see it more that it's a disruptive technology that is a Sputnik moment because Sputnik wasn't the most powerful computer. It wasn't the most
Somebody read
powerful
a
satellite.
playbook.
But first,
Well,
wasn't this supposed to be on the menu? Like, wasn't there supposed to be a vertical progression where weird, crazy shit like this happens basically on the regular now?
this is inevitably supposed to be expected, but most people in the West have been, I'm sorry, propagandized in the West, mind controlled in the West, Stockholm syndrome in the West to capitalism. And we have this idea that communism, aka sharing information with each other, is the most sinister, evil thing besides
Well,
pedophilia.
communism's
And
a
that
lot more than
capitalism,
sharing information with each other, Andreas.
sure,
Yeah, that's
but
not
like, isn't
communism.
but isn't it interesting that out of the West comes the service live economy and the enslavement of humanity and
Well, because we
people
don't really have
sweeping rumba
capitalism,
shops?
Andreas. We don't really have capitalism, so it's not fair
This is
to
true.
compare our bullshit fucking corporate
And they don't have
captured
communism or
capitalism.
what? What am I supposed
They
to do
have
with
they
this?
have a light communism light.
Well, then so do we, I guess. I mean, it seems like we
Well,
have a more
No, we have
Soviet
laced
Stalinist state.
communism. We have like communism
We-
laced with meth or
we're-
something.
But we're hybridized system. We mutually feed off each other. Like it's an exchange. So like they're
It's
not
a
pure
symbiotic relationship.
communism can only really truly be communism if it's global, because otherwise it has to play with others.
Yeah, actually, I was just talking to Vega about this. I was saying how there has to be like capitalism and socialism is never going to work unless there's some kind of spiritual component. Otherwise there's like every other redundant difference could just get in the way. It's like,
so you're saying people need morals? Yeah,
I mean,
like that,
like morals are more like cerebral, I think, right? It's more
Yeah.
about like ideology. I'm talking like literally on a
We have fentanyl laced communism in the West. Yeah, I agree.
on a spiritual basis. It's like if for example, like if you look at the concept like everyone's the same soul living out different lives in different bodies, well, then we're all intrinsically connected. It's that easy. If I hurt you, if I hurt you, I hurt me. If you hurt me, you hurt you. And it's like such a simple thing. If we all adopted it, that would be like, in a sense, kind of like a metaphysical communism.
I think capitalism could work. I think capitalism is still the greatest fucking system.
Of course, there's a problem. There's a problem for like, yeah, I was gonna say there's gonna be gatekeepers towards like spiritual awareness with like religions, like with the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims, and they all want their little slice of that kingdom, And
What do you guys
capitalism
think?
absolutely works. Capitalism is still the best fucking system. The problem is,
Yeah, but
you
you
have to
spelled
have
a capital, so it's a different kind of capitalism.
You have to have antitrust. With capitalism without antitrust is like always going to fail. It's always going to
elaborate. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? This all started because of IBM's antitrust and
you don't
Google's
have
antitrust.
competition and a capitalist. You don't have capitalism if you don't have competition. So when you have corporate capture of government to the point where companies can become monopolies, and what they're smart at doing now is they don't just become a monopoly. They'll keep it to like 3 companies, and then they'll price fix behind the scenes, and they'll essentially work together as if they were a monopoly without being a monopoly, so they can skirt around those things. So we need antitrust to be more aggressive and really start going after industries. Once winners start coming out of an industry and you got 2 or 3 big companies and the small companies can't compete anymore, that's when government needs to step in and go, okay, this antitrust needs to step in. We need to break these companies up. And we need one of the few things we need the government to do is to, an honest government is to constantly be focused on how to create more competition in the market. And what we have is a government that does the exact opposite at every chance it can, because it's taking money from big fucking corporations. So yes, capitalism is failing, and it's the result of a corrupt government that doesn't give a fuck about the people, and it just wants to make money.
See, but the thing about that is communist China has more capitalism and free enterprise than the United States. If I want to go prostitute myself or sell gasoline in the United States, I need a union, I need Tinder, or what's the app? I forget. OnlyFans or you know what I mean. There's systems of corporate oligarchy to pimp you
So
out.
whores are more free. Good. Okay, I'm glad.
Well, no,
Freedom
I'm just
for
saying.
whores.
I'm saying. Well, let's use gasoline again as an example. If I want to sell gasoline in the United States, do you have any idea how hard it is? Like worse than a liquor license to be a gas station. If I want to sell gasoline in China, I go stand on the corner next to the hookers.
That's part
and
of the
I can actually just have a
shit.
gas can and sell gasoline for free,
Yeah.
or whatever price I want. They keep the overhead low. So
That's
China
a
has
result
free
of our
enterprise.
corrupt government, dude. That's not the way capitalism is supposed to work. That's what happens when corporations buy off politicians and set regulations that make it so nobody can ever get to their level to fucking compete. Our whole tax code is backwards. We're supposed to have a progressive tax code that taxes people more as they make more money. Corporations that are the richest fucking people in the world, they're paying shit in taxes. That's completely backwards.
How can even Trump?
Yeah, but they also have lawyers to help
corporations.
them figure that kind of stuff out. They have more access to resources than the everyday man, so they know how to skirt the system.
Purpose, but that's on purpose. That's not the way it's supposed to be. If we have a tax code in capitalism, it's supposed to be progressive, right? So, like, it's
I don't know about that because
if
you say that
incentivize small companies to be able to not be taxed hardcore and to be able to compete, right? Like, if you're smart and you're creating a tax code and you want competition, you go, okay, how do we make a tax code that's friendly to small businesses, to people so can invest and start a business and can actually survive and maybe make it to compete with the big businesses? But our tax code right now fucking kills small businesses.
See, I want to highlight a key word. What you said right now. I think things will be changing in a better direction in the next 4 years.
Get rid of income taxes.
And from what I'm seeing, the regulations and things like that, they may be hit. So there is hope for America. We just need to make sure to keep our foot in the gas.
But that's not the way it's moving. Trump is lowering taxes for the multi-million-dollar corporations because otherwise.
But he's also trying to get rid of income tax for Americans, is he not?
Yeah,
true.
You can get rid of income. I think the perfect system is to get rid of income tax for anybody like that earns a reasonable amount of money. And then once you start getting into the hoarding wealth levels of money, like 150 million a year, 100 million a year, then you just fucking tax the fuck out of them to ensure that they're just not hoarding wealth.
But then that creates a hostile environment for companies that are, because you want people to invest in your city, state, or wherever, right? You want to give them incentives to do so. So I do think there is a purpose to it. Do I think it's being abused? 100%. Do I think we can find a happy medium? Yes.
I think the answer is we need to go back to our old school economy where it's local small businesses basically everywhere instead of a couple businesses just running everything. And I think that's antitrust. And it's also changing the tax code, getting rid of regulations that are put there by corporations to keep fucking small businesses from ever being able to compete against them.
Well, what's the incentive then for a small business to try to become Bell or Google?